Hello and welcome along to Drop the Label podcast. Today I have James Simison. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm James Simison. I work in insurance. I'm an ex-member of RT. Used to come a few years ago, which was great fun. And now,
I love how you say ex-member. Everyone's going to be like, ooh, why did he leave?
I moved away. I moved north. Went to the bad side of Gateshead.
The bad side.
Went to the dark side. But no, I do miss the place. It's great to see how it's transformed over the last couple of years.
It's been mental coming back after COVID.
I can imagine. Everyone getting on it.
It was like go hard or go home when we came back. Had to be. So, labels.
Yep.
I'm intrigued, right, as to whether or not anyone responded to your story the other day. So you posted on your Instagram story that you were doing this podcast. Did anyone have any labels for you?
Ish. I think I got 4 or 5 responses back, and they were all based around the fact that I work with fish. So it's like fish guy, fish boy, fish man, and that was it. One person coming back said, "Just beautiful bastard."
Right.
and that was it. I wasn't expecting anyone to really come back with anything sort of deep and meaningful, or actually sort of constructive. I think people are quite shy when it comes to sort of their own opinions about things, and maybe sort of making that step to say, I think you are this or that. And so I was interested to see if anyone did, and sort of would be able to get past that sort of, not insecurity, but a bit of shyness. But no one did. So it was interesting just to do it and find out and see what was going on, and if anyone would surprise me.
Yeah. I do think it is one of those topics where some people are totally willing to open up and talk about it, and others kind of need a nudge before they go, okay, yes, this is what label I would give to you. Yeah,
and I think people are sort of very scared about offending people, especially these days, and they don't want to say something that may cause offence or someone to take it the wrong way. And if someone had come back to me and said whatever, then it may have sparked a debate, a conversation, just a bit of a chat. But if someone came back and said, I think you're whatever, then I wouldn't take it as, unless they call me a sort of see you next Tuesday, then then I wouldn't have taken it too badly.
Yeah, I think that's the thing though. Obviously, throughout doing these, the vast majority of labels that people give to others, they do so from a negative perspective. So I think that's always the worry. Of the negative connotations attached to those labels, even if you don't mean them in that way.
Exactly, and it's always easy to look at the negative side of things. As human species, we're always looking out for danger. We're always trying to find the things that you remember what doesn't work, and that's how our brains are wired to learn and go forward. So we always look for the negative aspect rather than going, that was lovely, and trying to remember those good things. People always try, and I do it myself. I sort of, whenever I think about myself and how I'm doing, it's always the negative aspect, not the positive things.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So, obviously you asked the question at large, and everyone sort of shied away from it. Have you been doing any self-reflection, James?
I had a bit of a sort of tough end of last year, and I've gone through sort of some talking counselling and things like that, and through that process, you have your own labels and the sort of the baggage that you hold onto yourself, and how you move through life and how you feel that you are perceived. And so one of the things that I held on to and still held on to, I think, a bit too much, was that I was the strong and silent one. There's when I was at school, there was a prize for being this thing called stoic, which is that sort of you just let everything not wash over you, but you try and just put on a brave face and keep going.
Yeah.
So when I think it was about 13, I broke my ankle playing rugby, and I just went, I've got a broken ankle, fine, just crack on and just do the best, and still participated in school and things like that. And at the end of the year, I was given this prize for being stoic, and I think from there, I've always used that as a sort of thing to say, well, I am this, therefore, in everything I do, I have to be just, no matter how shit things are going or how unfair or unjust I think people are being towards me, I've just got to be just put on a brave face, smile, and just go, yep, okay, fair enough. I hate it, but I'm just going to crack on and do that. And yeah, so towards the end of last year, it finally sort of bubbled up to the surface, and I was able to sort of actually think about it and talk about it, and sort of really put try and not put it to bed, but just let people around me know that things affect me much more than I probably let on.
Yeah.
And that was definitely a label that I had for myself, which I think some people see it as a good thing, being able to just crack on with it and being able to just get through the hard times. But for me, there were times when it was you're just taking on so much, and I think men are very bad at talking about their emotions, and it just got too much towards the end.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's really quite a negative thing to come from what was probably deemed positive.
Yeah,
Obviously, if they're giving out an award for it at school.
Exactly, and that was my thing. Like, I had a trophy. I had this big sort of solid silver trophy for being stoic and for doing this. And as a 13-year-old, you think, okay, well, if I'm being rewarded for that sort of behaviour, then that's what I am, and that's what I need to be. And when I listened to the chap talking about people at school and how quickly the labels come into you and how you sort of assume them and take them on, and that was me just going, this is what I need to be then. If this is what gets me prizes and recognition, and people go, oh, well done for doing that, then that's what you sort of hold on to as a child, and think, right, that's how I'm going to go and be further on. And I don't think the school really sort of realised that was the sort of maybe the long-term implication of having that sort of thing being attributed to you.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah.
So how do you think that label served you then? So obviously most recently, it hasn't served you well until you've actually acknowledged and recognised it and worked through it. But how do you feel it served you up to that point?
I just sort of quietly got on with it. I think I messaged you after John's episode, where he was very quiet at school and very sort of subdued. And I think when I went from prep school to secondary school, then I sort of took on that a bit more like that. I think I was a bit more quiet, a bit more reserved. I didn't want to sort of show any negative emotion or try and sort of really. I just thought, if I can portray this sort of strong and silent type, then that will serve me well, and I'll just get through it. And then through school, being at boarding school, it can be very difficult at times. It can be amazing, but you then just it's that sort of process of just starting to bottle everything in.
Yeah.
And then through any other, I moved to Orkney for a long time for work, and you just sort of smile and get on with it and go and have to sort of say to everyone, oh no, it's brilliant, it's great, when you might be having an awful time. Because I was away from Sophia, I was away from my parents, all my friends. I had to sort of, go into a very new environment with new people. They sounded funny up there, and so you just got to try and push them out there. But then you just think, well, I've just got to portray this sort of confident, and sort of just, it doesn't bother me as much as it does, and I think that's just sort of just gone throughout my life.
Yeah. So overall, would you say it was a negative, or do you think that it actually maybe has helped you get through certain situations?
It has definitely helped. It's definitely sort of, it's meant that I can sort of partition off bits and go, right, I'm just going to just go out and do whatever it is and try and make the best of it and just move forward and crack on and, be present and not just sort of sit and wallow and just think, oh, woe be to me and all that. But then I think I just didn't have the sort of the safety net of someone to sort of, or just being able to sort of open up and being honest about it to friends or family or whoever and say, actually, this is bothering me, or this has been tough, and trying to sort of push it, used to push it further and further down, and end of last year, I just thought, right, I can't do this anymore. I need to sort of just start talking about it and just get it out and get it open. And, I think before you say, right, if I don't give oxygen, then it'll just go away.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Was anyone surprised when you did start talking about it?
I think so, yeah. I think Sophia was a bit surprised. I think she'd seen that my mental health had just sort of deteriorated over a couple of months, and I was just not withdrawing, but just sort of stressed, anxious, depressed, that sort of stuff. And just, I I wasn't quite myself. And I think my parents noticed it, and then when I started talking to them, obviously, so, they didn't realize how much it had affected me. But yeah, but they sort of, it wasn't a massive shock, but it was still a bit of a just like, okay, right, let's sort of get through this. And I'm very lucky that the company I work for, we have sort of free mental health support.
Right.
Not because the job's difficult or stressful. It can be stressful, but it's not. It's not sort of. It's not because of the work, but it's a service they provide. So we get just free counselling, sort of with no sort of reporting back to the company. So it's all kept anonymous and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's really, that was great to know to have. I had that service, and I can just pick up the phone and go, right, I need to talk to someone. Just go for it.
You don't hear that very often about companies providing that kind of thing.
No, and it is. Yeah, we are very lucky to have just some very, very good perks and support like that throughout the company. Yeah.
So do you feel better in yourself now that you've got it out in the open?
Yeah, and I think, I've had a lot more chats with Sophia about it and my parents and sort of different friends, and just saying, actually, I know everyone lives their life through social media and showing the best bits, and whenever you try and talk to friends, you say you don't want to weigh them down with the shit that's going on. You want to have, you want to go out for a nice beer or a nice meal or catch up and just talk about the good things of life. You don't want to come out and say, you know what, I'm fucking stressed. It's just awful, and I'm not in a good place. You want to try and perk yourself up and keep it going. So I think being able to now turn around and say, yeah, it's great. It wasn't quite so great. This is why it wasn't, and just try and have a few more conversations around that.
Yeah,
it's been good.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. It is. No, I get that though, because it is. Everyone always wants to portray the best.
Yeah.
Everyone does. Yeah. It's human nature. It's how people communicate. How everything is. I mean, even from a business perspective, like, you never see photos of a gym with no one in it.
No. Or if you try and get everyone in one corner going, right, let's just.
But like, you always try and put forward your sort of your best self, or the good things that's going on.
Exactly.
Never focus on the negative.
Yeah. When Sophia and I were doing like a long distance dating, so I was in Orkney, she was in London. Whenever we met up, she would always get really frustrated because I'd never talk about where I saw our future as a relationship, because I was so keen just to have a long weekend or a week and just be present in that moment and exist, and just not have to think about having to sort of be apart and going, well, this is what I see for us. I just didn't want to weigh down that weekend with sort of serious conversations and things like that. I just wanted to just have as much fun as I could over a weekend, and then go, right,
And she wanted to nail you down to know when you were getting married.
Not even just that. I think just going, is this still working? Is this still good? Are we happy doing this and not seeing each other for 3 months and then having a week and then doing things like that? Because it was tough, but we spoke a lot on the phone and tried to sort of. She's always trying to tease out these little things like, are you happy with this relationship? Is this what you want? And I was just like, as long as we're having fun and enjoying each other's company and doing that, then yeah.
How long did you just have to do that for?
I was in Orkney for 4 years. Yeah.
Wow.
She was studying and doing her masters. So that was a year and a half, 2 years, and then she was working in London. Whenever I came back to the mainland to do any work with the fish there, then I would just try and then dot on a few extra holidays and go down and see her, or she'll come up to Scotland and sort of catch up and see each other. And then by the end, after I think it was into the 3rd or 4th year, that I think, right, no, I need to get out of here, and just if we are gonna have a proper crack at it, then I need to be back on the mainland. So yeah, that's why I came here.
What was it like then to go from having a really long distance relationship and seeing each other to like suddenly being like living with each other? And
so even that took 3 or 4 years to be properly living together. So I moved down. We moved into a house in Durham, and then she moved up. But then she started a PhD. So she was in Scotland Monday to Friday, and then home for the weekends. So it was still that sort of quite transient life. And then it wasn't until COVID hit that we actually properly lived together and sort of stayed together all the time. And she started a new job in Newcastle in the December or January before COVID. And so we were then commuting together and doing all that, and it was nice. It was good. It was sort of, it felt like a sort of, even though we've been married 2.5 years, we've been dating for 16 years. You know, it was suddenly then, after all that time, you know, right, you're living together for the first time properly.
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine though, if you had like started living together through COVID and we're like, fuck, I didn't like you.
This is just awful. Yeah. It was one of the things like, shit, you know, thankfully, you know, we could work in different parts of the house and stay away from each other all day, come together for lunch and then fuck off and leave each other alone. And I think having that space and the ability to sort of move around was just that, I think that saved us.
Yeah.
Rather than if you were both working in the same living room and trying to sort of, you know, she was teaching, I was on calls and trying to sort of time all that, it would have just been horrible. But yeah.
It would have been a nightmare, like.
Yeah.
But yeah, excellent. Huh. I didn't quite know. Obviously, we've known you for ages, but I didn't know the full story of how long you had been separated for in terms of like living.
Yeah. And we were talking about it last night, and because we got a friend staying, and she was asking about, you know, how long we've been together and all that sort of stuff, and what it was like being long distance. And I think when people say, "Oh, you're doing a long distance relationship," that has its own sort of thing that people sort of envisage, that you just don't talk to each other for 6 months and then you have a week together and then you don't talk to each other again. Yeah. But yeah, no, we were on the phone pretty much every day, you know, just catching up, seeing how we were doing, and then, you know, Skype was just about sort of there, so we'd have that sometimes, and it was good. It was good fun. Yeah.
Cool. So back to labels then.
Yep.
Oh, detoured.
Sorry.
No, it's me. I just like chatting to people. Are there any other labels of interest for you, either that you've given yourself or been given to you, or that you've encountered with other people?
I think when I was thinking about it for the show, I think one of the things I was sort of drawn towards was how people limit their behaviour by a label that they feel that they have. I think going through school and university, you always had that sort of lad culture, and people trying to be a sort of, you know, I'm the way I am because of blah, and, you know, I behave a certain way towards women or in relationships, or the way that people sort of just act in everyday life with sort of banter because I'm a lad, or I'm a player, or I'm a whatever, and people then sort of use that as an excuse to be able to act and exist in a certain way. And I think you see it now more with the odd time that I see a Love Island thing pop up on sort of Instagram, and before I can get to fuck off, it's sort of, you see these things where they just sort of, they try and excuse their behaviour because I am this, therefore I can behave like an idiot, or not treat each other with respect or courtesy, you know. And I think that's just, people are too willing to almost hide behind these labels and these terms to try and sort of justify the way that they just bash their way through life.
Excuse their own behaviour.
Yeah.
Especially when it's substandard.
Exactly. It's like, you know, I can't remember what it was. Is it Dining with My Ex or something like that? It was on BBC a while ago, where, you know, people would say, well, why did you cheat on me? And the chap goes, well, you knew I was a player, so what did you expect?
What do you watch, James? What's it called? Dining with My Ex?
I saw this thing flick up on... It was during COVID. I was bored and just sort of scrolling through some social media. I can't remember if it was on Facebook or Instagram. I'm pretty sure it was called like Dining with My Ex. So it's two people in a restaurant, and on the plate they have different questions written.
Right.
And so they're sort of sat opposite each other. They either pull down the napkin from this bit and expose what it says, and then that person has to ask their ex that question, like, you know, why did you cheat on me? Did you think I was unfaithful? And things like that. And then they have to sort of eat their meal and discuss this thing.
Hell.
And I'll try and find it and send it on. But yeah, you used to have these things where, yeah, this bloke would just say, you know, you knew I was a player. You know, you wanted to date me, but you knew this going in. So what did you expect, that I cheated? You know, and you're standing there looking, going, but just don't. You know, be nice. If you're, you know, in a relationship with someone, then, and you're, you know, trying to be, if you're expecting them to be faithful and honest and all that, then the least you can do is back it up with the same sort of behaviour, and just to try and sort of dismiss your substandard behaviour by saying, oh, it's, you know,
you knew I was a player, so deal with it.
Yeah, you kind of just go, oh, come on, we're better than that.
Because that could be reversed. That could easily be reversed, because you could say, if she cheated on him, she could have behaved in a certain way because of his label.
Yeah.
So, well, you're a player, I knew you were a player, so I've played you at your own game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then there would have been hell on.
Exactly. And if he had said, you know, I can't believe you cheated on me, and she was going, but yeah, but this is the way that you behave, so I'm just mirroring your behaviour. So, you know, you can't, it's just, you're sort of watching it is like just car crash TV, and you're watching and going, just, what are you doing? Why? Just be.
Did you notice how you said, I was bored?
Yeah.
I had to watch something. So your substandard TV schedule.
Yeah.
Because you were bored.
I was bored. Because I was bored. I have to excuse that behaviour.
I just watch shit TV.
No. I try not to now. I'm better. I'm a better person.
Yeah, I know, but you know what it is? At the same time, we're kind of being judgy because some people will watch this week in, week out because they enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never watched Love Island apart from the, sort of the odd thing that comes up on sort of reels or things like that. You know, just fuck off. I think it's almost replaced the Britain's Got Talent X Factor thing where people watched it for the people who were awful, who couldn't sing, and that sort of just that sort of being able to judge someone and have that that sort of car crash moment of being able to sort of say, right, you know, I watch people on Love Island being idiots and not behaving well because that's, I don't know if that hits the same sort of receptors as the people on X Factor who weren't great at what they were doing but still just going for it.
It's mad that because those shows gave everyone the opportunity to be a judge, didn't they?
Yeah.
Everyone, everybody. I cringe sometimes, you know, when your memories come up on Facebook.
Yeah.
And you say what you've wrote, and I was well into Big Brother and I was well into X Factor. And the X Factor comments that I used to write on Facebook, like, fucking hell. Like, I get hauled over the coals now. Yeah.
And it does. You see some of it, and it just, certainly with some of the Instagram and Twitter stuff where you can be anonymous and just post this drivel, people, it just brings out the very worst in some people. And I think when you're a kid, you think, oh, it'd be lovely to be famous. And then now you think, fuck off, I could never, ever put myself through that and just have that weight of expectation and people labeling you or just judging everything that you do. And yeah, it must be awful.
I think it's one of those things we worry now, like even just posting advert videos out or doing this, it's like, I wonder if anyone's whacking a label on me. Like, oh, is it positive, is it negative? What do people actually think? Do I want to keep going with it? Do I not? Well, I'm enjoying it, so I do, but at the same time, it's like, oh, people are judgy.
Oh, so judgy, like, yeah.
But yeah, I auditioned for the X Factor, did you know
that?
Did you? Yeah, I did. I didn't get through, obviously. But no, because I remember at the time, my ex said, what do you actually want to get from it? Do you actually want to be famous? And it was like, it wasn't about being famous, it was because I liked singing. Yeah. And that was it.
Yeah.
But I didn't even think about it, of like, oh, I might end up famous.
Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, nowadays, people are doing these things just to become famous. Yeah. And that's the only thing that matters. It's, you know, it's being able to then be, you know, selling whatever they can on Instagram and just, you know, it's that notoriety that they're after rather than actually doing it for a purpose. And, you know, if someone said, you know, would you want to be famous? It's like, no. If I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and if I do it well, then that should be enough just to get yourself through it, rather than just trying to live up to someone else's standard.
I think some people want to be famous because they want the money. Yeah. And they think that that's the answer to everything. Yeah. When it's not in reality. No.
You can, you know, I'm sure people who have to sort of go through that influencer lifestyle, they must work their absolute socks off to be able to set everything up, work for themselves, and just push themselves forward. Yes, they might get an amazing amount of money, but just the stress they must go through to get to that point and maintain that, you know, not just their physique, but just the image that they're portraying. There must be easier ways to make a living than that.
It's like everything. I mean, social media is hard work as it is. Yeah. Even just advertising the gyms is hard work, and people don't think about how much goes into the daily posts and all that carry on. Yeah. And then you think these influencers who they're generally reviewing all of these different products all of the time, and then there's the ones that do the makeup and all the rest of it. And it's like, as scary as it sounds, that is a full-time job. Taking photos of yourself, taking videos of yourself is a full-time job.
Yeah.
And it's nuts.
And having to be constantly performing and having that sort of thing, right? I think if you're putting yourself out there and taking pictures and videos, then you've got to be so confident in your appearance and how you look. So if there's any blemishes or you're not quite feeling it that day, then you can suddenly, then how does that affect the rest of your working life? If I have a bad hair day or, don't feel sort of body confident, I know I can still go into the office and perform my job to the best of my abilities because it doesn't matter. But yeah, oh God, yeah.
Because then it hits that interesting point though when we're talking about, do you want to be famous? And then some of these people want to be famous, so they go on these programs like Love Island.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely terrible for names, and I've never watched Love Island, but there was that guy who had a complete meltdown, and everyone was like, oh, like why has he had this meltdown? And then did he commit suicide in the end?
They were having a few cases in the past, I think, yeah, they would have people yeah.
And there's like all of these different levels, and then these people go through that, and then some people, I think probably me included, said, but he wanted to be on that TV show, he wanted to put himself out there, he wanted to be famous, and then he couldn't cope with it.
Yeah, it must, yeah. I think you sort of see, with a lot of these things, like if you look at any like professional footballer or sports person or influence and things like that, all you see is the end product. You don't see the graft and everything that goes into it and the sacrifices they have to make and things like that. And probably now the negative comments that come with it, and just having that mental fortitude to not take it on the chin, but just either ignore it or work your way past it. And I guess people sort of see, they see the money, the fame and the fortune and that sort of stuff, and think that's all it is. It's just, a couple of funny DJ slots and selling some teeth whiteners, and that's great. But actually, there's a more to it, and I think they almost need to come with a health warning when you sign up. Going, this is, some of the ex-contestants going through some of their social media replies and comments and DMs, going, this is what to expect. This is normal. This is what you will get, and trying to just prepare them and say, is this actually what you want? Is the money and the sort of the Z-list celebrity status worth it for all that pain? Because then there's a Miss Britain or Miss UK who went on it and then was sort of banned from that competition because she had a relationship on Love Island, and you think, Christ, that's the most natural thing in the world is to have a relationship. Yes, it's on TV, which maybe isn't natural, but
it's crazy.
It's just no, I wouldn't. I've got friends who are in the public eye, and you almost feel sorry for them, because everything they do, there will be a Daily Mail article about it, no matter how minute it may be. There is something on Daily Mail. I posted a picture of me and a friend from school because I found this picture. Both of us were about 13. We looked really cute, and then 2 weeks later, it was on the Daily Mail, and I had to then ring my mate and go, I'm sorry, I didn't leak that photo. They've gone onto my Facebook, taken the picture, and then written a story about it.
Really?
Yeah. And then it's on. I managed to get the photo taken off the Daily Mail. I argued with the press regulation people, but my name is still attributed on this piece about my mate, and that will be there forever. And I had to just go to him, and thankfully, he's had to live with it for years. And he's like, no, it's fine. I didn't think you'd do that anyway. You're not that sort of person. But I still had to go, look, I'm sorry.
It could have been so different.
Yeah.
You could have fallen out over it.
Exactly. Or he could have assumed that I'd try to make a quick buck off his name and go from there. But it's just, and that sort of opened my eyes and think, Christ, that's how there are people just watching his social media and then just writing stories about it. It may be the most mundane thing in the world, and that's a 2-page thing on the Daily Mail.
Wow.
And that's his life. That's normal. It's awful.
So we've covered a few topics there.
Yeah.
So I want to really hone in on a particular label that you find interesting.
Interesting.
Or have an opinion on.
I'm not sure. I'm trying to think what's for the ones that have been covered before, and not just repeat what's been done. I don't know. I guess. When I first joined RT, did you have any sort of, try to throw it back?
Tom did that. Did I have any labels for you? Not really.
Oh, fair enough. That's it. That's that one done then.
No, it was sort of, no, because were you privately educated?
Yes.
And I don't think I'd ever got that vibe from you. And that sort of, I suppose, makes it sound like I get a vibe from people who've been privately educated. But you do sometimes, though, don't you?
Yeah.
Get this vibe.
I really annoy Sophia if I put on like a really posh voice and just play up to that stereotype of sort of public school wanker. I guess that's a label I've sort of gone through a bit, you know, going to a sort of a big boarding school and then sort of living in that almost Victorian bubble where everything you do is surrounded by history and, you know, the people who you're around, it's not normal life. You know, the sort of the people who are there, I think it's different now, but it's gone even worse. But you know, you're paying a significant sum of money to be educated at this boarding school, and so the people around you are, you know, the wealthy, their parents are wealthy, and then so you have this sort of outlook on life which isn't really normal.
Right.
And you think what you think is normal is not normal. So when I left that system, I then worked in a genetics lab in Newmarket, and very, very quickly I sort of realised, oh shit, there's this whole world out there which you have no idea. You know, you just not. It's not that you're not aware of it. You just, you know, it's just very, very different to how you've interacted with adults and teachers and people, you know, your friends, parents, and things like that. And suddenly, you say things that you feel are quite normal, or, you know, experiences that you have or do, or the way you live your life is sort of what you would class as normal as an 18-year-old. And suddenly you're going, actually, no, this isn't.
Yeah.
I've got to try and not hide it. I'd never try and hide who I am or make excuses for it. But suddenly you're going, oh Christ, I've got to actually, you know, if I act like this the rest of my life, I'm just a twat.
Right.
And that, you know, that I think that experience really changed my outlook on life and the way I sort of interact with people, because yeah, it's just.
So do you feel when you came out of boarding school that you were a bit of a twat?
Oh yeah. So
what was normal for you then? Like, what did you deem to be normal?
I think the bit where I saw people's eyes widen and just go, fuck. So both my parents are lawyers. We lived in a nice part of North London. When they bought the house, the housing market wasn't what it is now. And by the time we'd left our house, the value of the house had gone up 5 times. So it was in the millions. And so when I was talking with someone over lunch, and just my parents were putting their house up for sale, they were buying a house, and we're sort of chatting about that. And I said, oh yeah, my parents are selling their house. It's going for this. And you can see them just going, right, okay, we're looking at one and it's, you know, in the hundreds of thousands, not millions. And then you sort of, as I sort of got on further and, you know, I was taking a gap year, I was traveling, I was spending, you know, a good amount of money on experiences, and then suddenly you're seeing them just going, who is this? You know, they haven't got a grip on reality and how much.
I think, my face is just in it.
Yeah.
and
yeah, you know, so, you know, I'm extremely lucky to have had the experiences I've had and being able to travel and, you know, take a year between school and university and spend 9 months of that traveling without really having to sort of pay my way through it. And, you know, I'm incredibly lucky to have parents that were supportive in that way and just, you know, really pushed me to have those experiences. And I think through certainly working in the genetics lab, I learned so much about just real life. And, you know, at school, you've got people whose parents have super yachts. And, you know, when they get picked up from school, it's just the most incredible car park. And that's normal. You know, houses abroad and amazing ski holidays and summer holidays and Easter holidays, and, you know, everyone's got everything. Yeah. And that's normal. And then suddenly you sort of you go out of that bubble and you realize that that's not, because that's all you know.
Yeah.
You know, for 5 years at boarding school, that's all you really know, and you go on holidays with these people and you do that, so that's all you ever see.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's like, you know, there's people who haven't had that opportunity, and then you've got to try and, you know, check your privilege and sort of go, actually, you know, I'm not trying to show off. I'm not trying to sort of say, oh, you know, I'm so much better.
Yeah.
But, you know, trying to be honest about what you're doing and not trying to hide that element of your life. But yeah, you sort of see it's just not normal.
Yeah.
And I think I learned so much in that year about how, you know, people from different walks of life and different places, and trying to sort of just trying not to live up to that public school wanker sort of, that label that, you know, we all probably had.
Yeah.
You know, the sort of, you know, the people who go down to sort of, not that I ever did, but, you know, the King's Road and Sloane Square and those sort of Made in Chelsea people, you know, that was the sort of the bubble
Right.
that, you know, we were in. And that's normal.
Wow.
It's yeah. So it's nice to hear that I'm not, I wasn't sort of painted with that brush when I walked in here.
No, not at all, not at all. And I mean, when I did obviously find out that you went to private school, I was like, right, okay. So then it did plant that sort of posh seed of like, oh well, right, okay. But no, clearly you've been able to sort of recognise that in yourself, and that's quite a skill, really, because if you've lived that for so long and always thought that's normal, the amount of people that must come out of those situations.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it helped that I went and worked in the genetics lab straight after school without any school friends there. So I was on my own, and again, having to sort of come out on myself and just be a person, and, you know, not sort of limit my, you know, there were times when I was younger, I wasn't very confident. So I had to then suddenly just flip that on its head and go, right, I've got to be confident. There's no other way to do it. Just go. And not having the pressure of people around you, and not having that safety net of, you know, I can do this for a bit and then go back to my safety zone of, you know, poshness. And then when I went traveling, I was with, you know, 1 or 2 friends at a time, and we were always as part of a wider group. So you were always with other people, and you weren't just staying together thick as thieves and just, you know, trying to not change. So that experience was great, just to be able to, just to sort of, just meet other people and learn other experiences, and try to just see life for what it is, and how different people have got to where they're going.
do you ever feel like some people can't see past that?
Yeah.
Do you feel like people sometimes look at you and say, oh, well, you haven't got a clue what life is like?
Yeah.
And basically, when you're talking to me about real life, you haven't got a full grasp of it.
And I'm massive, even now I'm thinking, I'm part of this thing of the way my brain works, is like, how dare I complain about, or not complain, but sort of bring it up as a thing, like, you know, it was hard to get past it, and people might go, well, you were privately educated, so, you know, what right do you have to try and complain about it? But I think trying to sort of move forward and trying just to, you know, live a normal life. You know, the bank of mum and dad is long gone. You know, I'm trying to set myself out on my own feet and trying to sort of do as much as I can for myself. You know, yes, there is help here and there, but, you know, it's
crazy that how you felt that way. Like, how dare you talk about that and say it was hard or anything like that? But do you ever think? Do you know, when you think of the word privileged, and people will always talk about privilege, there's a big thing, white privilege, check your privilege, do this, do this. And it always makes you feel like you shouldn't acknowledge or talk about something that was completely natural to you and completely normal for you, in the process that you've gone through. Like, you're apologising for it, but actually, like, you should never have to apologise for it.
No, and
like,
I think,
yes, you did have a completely different upbringing, but you've recognised that, and you haven't just. It blows me mind.
Yeah,
people have to apologise for who they are.
I get very self-conscious when people sort of. I was at a wedding recently, and someone came over and said, "Oh, you're James. You're the posh one." I was just like, "Great. Nice to meet you too." I had nothing to say after that, because I was like, I don't know how to either live up to that expectation of you thinking I'm posh, or to try and just move past that, and then we had this sort of very awkward conversation for 5 minutes about the wedding, and then it was like, see
See
ya.
you later.
And yeah, it's just like, right, okay.
You're the posh one.
And yeah, so I'd never try and apologize for where I've been and what I've done. Obviously, if I've done things that are wrong, then definitely. But yeah, you know, when I was 11 or 12, my parents, you know, I had to move. My school ended at 13, so I moved into secondary school at that point. My parents said, "Well, do you want to stay in London and go to a London day school, or there's these 2 or 3 boarding schools just outside of London. Do you want to go to one of those?" And at the time, I was very sporty. I still enjoy my sport, and I thought, well, a London day school, it's going to be more academic. I'm not going to be able to play as much sport. I love my rugby, I love my hockey and athletics. And when I went to see the boarding schools, you know, I think we had like 6 or 7 football pitches, 8 or 10 rugby pitches, 3 hockey fields, an athletics track, an Olympic-sized pool. Yeah. The sport was just there. And for me, then my eyes lit up and went, you know, well, yes, I'll get my education, but I'll also have, you know, I was playing sport 7 days a week.
Yeah.
You know, playing, yeah. And that, for me, that was what I wanted to do. It wasn't because I felt that I needed to go to boarding school to live up to, or to be posh, or to sort of doing that. For me, it was just, well, it's either a day school with sport maybe once a week, or I live in a school where I can just open the front door of the house and I'm on a playing field, and we can play football until 10 o'clock at night, and we can just do all that. And that was it for me.
Because that's the thing, that was a completely normal teenage response to a situation.
Yeah.
Yes, the choices might have been better than what other people have been given a choice, but that was just a choice that was presented to you, and you've gone, I'll have a bit of that.
Yeah, and because you're 12, 13, when I had to do my exams and you get into it, and then you have to go, yes, I do want to go to that school. And then you have no idea what money is at that point. You know, you know, my parents are very good at just sort of, you know, like, it's good, bad. It took me a long time to realize just how much money was spent on that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was never, my parents never went, well, if you do this, it's going to cost this, which means we can do that. Or if you do that, it's going to cost a bit more, so it means this is going to be different. Yeah. It was just, here are your choices. Yeah. Take whichever one you want. And we want the best for you. So whatever you feel happiest doing, go for it. And that's always what there's, you know, throughout life, they've been really good at just not having, they've got expectations for me, but they'd say, well, you know, if you're enjoying it and you're doing what you want to do and you're sort of surviving and thriving, then that's the most we could ever want for our child, for our children. So just, you know, as long as you enjoy it, crack on. So that was the choice. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, but it was a great experience. There were some awful parts of being at boarding school, but, you know,
I can imagine. I've heard stories.
It wasn't so much the sort of, I think it's just, you know, when you're living at school, you know, if you take any school environment of, you know, the pecking order that there is, the sort of the social ladder and that sort of stuff, and it's just multiplied because you can't escape it. So anything that's happened is under this microscope. So if you do something wrong, then the whole school know about it within 5 minutes. Right. And you've got to live with that. It's, you know, it's not quite as bad as the sort of social media now, because nothing's recorded, nothing's on paper, but just that sort of that gossip mill just goes into overtime. So if ever, you know, oh, do you hear about such and such and such and such and what they got up to, and it's
the whole school knows.
Yeah.
So
but then
kind of like being a celebrity at school.
Yeah.
all the wrong things people talk about.
Exactly.
And it stays with you, doesn't it? Yeah. When it goes around, when anything goes around school, it stays with you for a long time.
Yeah. And I think through that sort of the confidence thing, like I sort of cottoned on very early that not the less that I did, but, you know, if I didn't raise my head above the parapet and I didn't sort of put myself up for that ridicule, then I'd have an easier time at it. And you saw kids who were caught doing something they shouldn't be doing, or, you know, said something that, we all say things that maybe are a bit stupid, or you open up about life and then suddenly that's used as ammunition, and that's you. You know, it's a nickname. It's constant. You know, the teachers know about it. Everyone, and it's just, that's it. You're never going to escape it.
So did you have any of them at school or not?
Any what?
Of those moments?
Yeah, a couple. Yeah.
And did you have to just live with it throughout?
Yeah.
I won't ask you what they are, because that's a whole new kettle of fish, that one.
Yeah, I think I messaged you after John's episode because his school life, where he was very quiet and subdued and not passive, but just, you know, it sounded like his confidence was really hit by his teachers calling him quiet and things like that. I think a lot of my school reports were the same. You know, it's, you know, quiet kid, needs to speak up more, obviously intelligent, but just needs to get that confidence. And I'd always have these sort of mad moments throughout school where suddenly, the pressure would build up and I'd just do something just idiotic and then go back to being sort of a bit quiet and then just sort of build up and then boom, sort of bits. And yeah, so there were a couple of moments which weren't great. Yeah.
That's one of those where I nearly said boys will be boys.
Yeah.
And just stick a label on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I can well imagine. I've heard plenty of stories, but then you wonder how many of these stories are actually real. Because I think when you don't go to boarding school or private school or anything, you have this preconceived idea as to what they get up to.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing as bad as I think it has been in the past with sort of the boarding school behaviour. I think, you know, a long time ago, well, 70s, 80s, it probably wasn't the best place to be, and certainly there were a lot of safety guards in place when we were at school. So if people were getting sort of physically bullied and things like that, then there were, you know, checks in place to make sure that didn't happen. It's not to say that, you know, you never saw it happen and we didn't get into scrapes and things like that. But yeah, there was nothing too bad, nothing sort of properly illegal or anything like that. Okay. You know, like, I remember like the first week we were there, the people in the sort of the top year sort of bundled into our dorm at night, grabbed two of us, taken into a room, given a big comedy boxing glove each, and just told to fight.
Oh, lovely.
And that was that. Yeah. I mean, there was those, you know, the massive sort of giant things. So you weren't actually going to hurt each other. It was just sort of one person had the right, one person had the left, and you just sort of waved it around and a bit of a laugh, and that was that. But yeah.
Huh. Mad.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that happening. Like, that's so far removed from.
Yeah.
Mad. So to wrap up then, because I've taken quite a bit of your time.
Oh no, it's fine.
If there was one label in the world you could say eradicated, never seen again, what would it be and why?
I think I have to go back to that sort of lad. I think there's so many sort of certainly male behaviours that are just hidden behind that lad title that I think that is, for me, it's that sort of behavioural pattern that you see some people going through and feeling as if they have to act in a certain way, and it's almost like an aspirational title of, you know, I want to be this thing. I think it's, from seeing kids interacting in the streets and sort of being at clubs or bars and just seeing the way that some people act around each other, you just think, you know, just, I don't know, so I'm getting old, it's just calm down. Just,
you know, I don't think it's as much about getting old, but you do start to reflect and you see things in younger, like kids and that as well, and you think, was I like that when I was a kid? Or I wish I could teach you things that I know now. Yeah,
and just say, you know, it just doesn't matter. Just be nice, be happy, enjoy being out without having to make it into this thing or trying to sort of, it's just, I think that sort of, that lad culture, just, get in the bin. Yeah. Cool.
Well, thank you very much for your time, James. It's been lovely.
It's been good. Yeah, really nice.
It's been a good catch up as well.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
That's all right.